gonna be but happy to be here in some air conditioning. With the call to order, I'll move to completion and acceptance of agenda. So if you folks have any amendments they'd like to make to the agenda. Being none, I'll take a mover and seconder to accept the agenda. Moved by Commissioner Lehman, seconded by Commissioner Robbins. All in favor? And any opposed? That carries. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. And approval of minutes, so approval of minutes for meeting of April 27, 2026. Can you move in second for that? Moved by Commissioner Robbins, seconded by Commissioner Lehman. And any comments, questions, edits to the minutes? Nope, seeing none, then all in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, moving to presentations and delegations. We have Elaine, the chair of APSAC, coming to speak to the agenda from their last meeting. So if you want to come on up to the table. Yeah. Excellent. So welcome, and you're familiar with the commission, so you've got 5 minutes, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, just wanted to let you guys know what sort of happened in the last meeting. We received a wonderful report on some upcoming accessible bus stop changes with respect to the conceptualization and the organization of bus stops in a hierarchical setting, in the sense that they will go from being basic to enhanced to BRT stops, and ensuring accessibility, consistency, and fluidity throughout the city. APSAC would like to express its deepest gratitude to staff for bringing that to us at this stage of conception and thought to gather our feedback. We had a discussion and questions were asked, and he was quite diligent in writing down feedback that was brought forward. And I was a little bit disappointed in that we didn't have as many people as I was hoping could have commented on this report, but because it is such in its infancy, there will be future chances in the future for us to bring forward feedback and continue consultation as staff bring back more from their environmental scans, as well as what they've come to decide, and potential designs and specifications down the road. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. But again, just expressing my gratitude that staff were willing to come to us at such an early stage. Oftentimes, these types of accessible changes end up being afterthoughts as opposed to being built from the ground up with accessibility in mind. And keeping with the idea of universal design, bringing accessibility from the ground up is exactly what we want. And again, APSAC is extremely gratified to have been a part of that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming to join us. So with that, I'll get a motion to receive a verbal delegation. Moved by Commissioner Robbins, seconded by Commissioner Lehman. Are there any questions for the delegate? Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, Sam here. Thank you very much for that very brief presentation. Very positive. With respect to the feedback that the advisory committee has received from that's on our agenda today in terms of changing the terms of reference and moving forward, do you have any comments or that on that, or would you like that referred to your advisory committee for discussion, or anything else you'd like to say?
Through the chair, I'm not actually sure if this is the right time to comment on that actual note of reference right now, as it's further in the agenda. But I do appreciate the chance to give feedback. But I do believe that based on what the commission comes up with and whether they approve it, then it will go to APSAC, and hopefully then we can, amongst us as a group, we'll be able to ask questions and clarify any language that's confusing or misleading.
Great.
Okay, thank you to the chair and secretary. Then is the motion the way it's drafted to including a referral to APSAC for discussion? I don't think it is. That's why I wanted to raise that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
why
that
don't
should.
we deal with that when we get to that item? And
Okay, but I wanted the chair is not going to, the delegate is not gonna have the chance to speak to that, so I thought I wanted to clarify that here while she has the floor.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay, so I'll be making an amendment then to refer that to the committee.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much, Lane, and look forward to seeing you again. Moving to communications, we have several, so there's 6 different letters. They correspond to a variety of items further on, so it's hoping that we could receive them and then, discuss them with the items. So motion to receive those, moved by Commissioner Lehman, seconded by Commissioner Rahman. Any comments? Like I said, hoping to discuss them with further. Okay. Seeing none, then move to receive, in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Okay, moving to consent items, I've had a request to pull item 3 and 9. So unless anyone wants anything else pulled, I was hoping to do a motion to receive and approve items 1, 2, and then 4 through 8. Moved by Commissioner Trosso, second by Commissioner Rahman. Any comments or questions on those items? Commissioner Rahman?
Thank you. I guess, we pulled 3, so I'll leave that one alone. The federal advocacy update, I'm just wondering, if we've heard anything. I know the report was June 29th, so things are moving fast. But I'm just wondering what's our next steps in terms of advocacy from a commission perspective. So right now, a lot of our advocacy happens at the CUDA level, it happens at the association level, CPHT, sorry, as well. But we do have a chance for some advocacy this August at AMO, not the Canadian level. Obviously, we have some additional opportunities for advocacy. As we're, undertaking other activities this summer, just wondering what kind of information will be shared with us to prepare for those opportunities.
Through the chair. So essentially the report outlines what we know today. I will say the moves that the federal government made are consistent with what AMO and FCM were essentially asking for, which was find a way to flow the money and move it more quickly. So that certainly is the case. The questions outstanding are, now that it's going to flow directly to the province and it's going to be up to the province, what's the process going to be? So I think from an advocacy perspective, it's going to be more the provincial level now than the federal, because the federal's kind of, made that decision. Certainly Opta will be participating in our annual advocacy day in the fall. This will obviously be a key piece on that. I think that the message generally is going to be province to not spend all of that money in the GTHA, which is essentially what it looked like was going to happen when it was part of the Metro Region Agreement, because the province was required to sign on, and they were actively working with GTHA systems to gather kind of big projects to prioritize how that money would be spent. So the feeling of systems outside of the GTHA are that will continue to be the process. And so the advocacy will be coming from that perspective to make sure that it's, spread amongst the province and that everyone has the opportunity to access some of that funding.
Thank you. Have we considered having LTC join council at AMO for a delegation?
Through the chair, typically in the past, what's happened is somebody at the city would reach out to us and ask if there's specific issues brewing, and we would have that conversation. And if there's a need, we're always open. So it's never been that we don't want to attend. It's typically been, the issues of priority. Transit never made, or historically doesn't make the cut. But certainly we're open to that.
Thank you. I think I'll take that offline and explore that as well as an option. Thank you.
Any other questions? Also, Commissioner Tressa, I just might ask you to switch your name, please. I just realized that yours is, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Any other questions on items 1, 2, 4 through 8? Okay, seeing none, those have been moved and seconded, so all in favor? Oh, who's that?
Yes, Sam
Yeah.
and Corinne.
Yes, great. And then all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so those have been received and approved. And then we'll go to item 3, the ridership assessment. And Commissioner Trossau asked for that.
Yes, thank you very much. And through the chair, I put this on the, agenda 2 meetings ago. Because I really thought it would be important for this commission to have a discussion about it. And while I appreciate receiving a staff report, I think that this commission needs to, step up and look at this issue with a little bit more purpose, perhaps take a bolder step. So, rather than just receive this staff report, which, I don't have any issue with what's in this staff report, I just would like to see it go a little bit further, but more important than that, I would like to have a more robust discussion at this commission about what we can do as a body to increase ridership. Therefore, I submitted a proposed amendment, which I think, it raises 2 potential, programs that we can engage in that would increase ridership. So I'm not going to debate it right now because it's not on the floor, but I would like to, move this, and I'll be looking for, a second for, a further discussion about additional bus pass programs and, the potential inclusion of special incursions, for special events. So that's moved.
Okay, so you, there, on the agenda, there's an item to approve a 1-year pilot partnership and then receive it. So do you want this in addition to that? Or
Yeah.
would you like,
This says add a section 3
okay.
to what's already 1 and 2.
So let's move in. The one thing I'll say is that we don't have a September meeting, so would you like that then October?
October, yes.
October,
Yeah.
okay, so October. Okay. Yep,
I'm gonna declare conflict,
okay, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough.
and my conflict is based on the fact that my employer,
Yes.
so my husband's employer.
Thank you. Okay, so then that has been moved. Is there a seconder for the amendment? I'm willing to second that amendment to discuss it. So that is on the floor now. And would you like to speak to it further?
Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to start by talking about the bus pass program. It's beyond, I mean, we all understand the importance of the existing bus pass programs from Western and Fanshawe to our overall revenue. And my thinking is what we should be investigating is, especially in light of the fact of the decrease in ridership and the decrease in particularly Fanshawe enrollment, I would like to at least make inquiries, and this has to be done by the staff, of course, to Fanshawe and Western with respect to their faculty and staff. And I know over the years, many faculty members have raised with me the need for that, whether that is done with Western administration or through UWAFA and the other unions. I would leave that to the discretion of our administration. But beyond Western and Fanshawe, there's Victoria Hospital, there's University Hospital, there's St. Joseph's Hospital. And I should add that I'm engaged in some discussions with St. Joseph's Hospital right now about the parking garage. And one of the main points that the community members on that committee keep raising with St. Joseph's, and they never really say no, but they just don't get to it, is maybe encouraging more of their staff to use London Transit. I mean, it's right there on Richmond. I would also like to see this discussion happen with other large institutions, such as the London Airport, such as London the Fair, and certainly private employers. And I'm not sure how large a private employer has to be in order to warrant this discussion, but right off the top, I could think of Preem, and a few others. So that's that first part. The second part deals with something that I think would be very exciting for our riders, and it would certainly help alleviate traffic and parking concerns when there are major events, often downtown, but other places too. So I'm thinking Rock the Park, Rock the Runway, New Year's Eve in Victoria Park, Rib Fest. I mean, there are a variety of other events that happen in Victoria Park that create parking and traffic issues, including Sunfest and and others. I would like to investigate the possibility of having excursions, special excursions, which would originate in places where there's a lot of parking. These would typically be on the weekend, so I don't think there would be a problem with that, such as Westmount Mall, Argyle Mall, Masonville Mall, maybe Cherry Hill Mall. I don't know all of the locations, but especially I'm especially concerned about Rock the Park. Well, I'm concerned about Rock the Park, but I'm also concerned about Rock the Runway. And I think that this is something that would generate enthusiasm, excitement. It would give people the opportunity to go to their events without having to drive and look for parking space. And I would leave it to our staff to investigate a schedule and a fare structure. But I think this would be very, very exciting. It would get people on the bus perhaps for the first time. And I think it would be very positive for us and also for the environment. So that's my motion.
Thank you. And I just want to mention that we've been joined by Commissioner Morgan, a couple of weeks ago, from 2009. Okay, any other questions, I guess, by Commissioner Lehman or Morgan? Commissioner?
I don't mind supporting B. I can't support A. I don't believe that we should be looking at subsidizing private businesses. If they want to offer that as part of their benefit package to their employers, great. And as part of the institution as well, like the hospitals should be looking at, you know, if they have parking concerns, maybe we can look at reducing parking again by offering it to our employees, but not through subsidized, the subsidization from the Transit Commission. And I guess the thing is once you offer it to the big guys, then you're going to be discriminating against the small guys. So how far do you go? You go to every single down to evil and, you know, a one-man shop. Why shouldn't I get a subsidized pass? So, but for sure, B, yeah, it'd be an interesting thing to explore, especially for the organizers of the event, you know, like the airport music festival there. I'm sure that would be a great discussion to reduce the traffic congestion up there.
Commissioner Morgan?
Yeah, so I understand the concerns that Commissioner Lehman expressed. I don't have as much of a challenge with A. I do have a challenge with a bit of the wording. Expanding special bus pass group rates, so that sounds very definitive. What I'm happy to do is I think we can explore other additional pass rates, but my expectation is that these would be a net positive financial contribution to the commission. In other words, if we're going to end up, it's going to end up costing us money because we're subsidizing large employers, and I totally agree with Commissioner Lehman. If there is a path to having, say, every faculty member at an institution buy a bus pass, and you know, we know not all of them are going to use it, and and there's a report that basically says this is going to be a net financial positive to the organization to allow us to do other things, then I'm happy to consider those programs, especially if there's private sector employers interested in group purchases. You know, generally, if you buy a lot of something, you get a better rate, but the organization can still be, you know, make essentially a net financial contribution to the bottom line. So I'm happy to do that. I don't know if we can change the wording. I guess we could amend it to say something along those lines. So it wouldn't be expanding special passes, but it'd be exploring new passes that are a net positive financial contribution to the Transit Commission. If that were the wording, I'd be happy to explore them. I'm not sure if that's going to be viable or not, but I think, if that's a possibility, I don't have a problem looking out to private sector employers or large public sector employers to see if they're interested in doing something that has a net benefit to the commission, which allows us to subsidize the other things that we have to do, rather than rely on municipal taxpayers. Again, I don't know if that's viable, but I think what the councilor's asking is, can we look into this? So I need some wording change to get behind the one part, but if the mover's okay with those sorts of changes, I'm happy to support the motion before us.
Thank you. I'm just going to Commissioner Trassa, if you're okay.
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually an improvement because I think it's consistent with what we have already in terms of it being a net positive to LTC. Exploring new special pass or group rate programs, which would be a
Net positive.
net revenue positive to LTC, which could include.
Great. I'll just let the secretary workshop that a little.
Yeah. But thank you for that. I think that's a great idea.
While we're just waiting to get a read back on that, maybe I'll go to staff to comment on the items.
Sure, just to provide a little bit of background on this, we have over the years met numerous times with faculty and staff at Western Fanshawe, Vic, and St. Joe's with respect to this. Unfortunately, what always happens is they're looking at Universal Pass at Western and Fanshawe, and they want that program, but they don't want the mandatory piece. So essentially what they want is their employees to be able to opt in to what the students are paying, which then essentially means that the commission is just subsidizing current transit riders because they're already buying a pass, they just want it at a discount. So that tends to be what happens, but we continue to be open and we continue to meet with institutions like that on a regular basis, to see if there are opportunities, and we can continue to do so. That's not a problem. On the part B, I would just throw out a caution that the malls are not necessarily on side with filling their parking lot with non-customers for events. So I just throw that out. We have tried initiatives like that in the past, and the malls are not necessarily amenable in all circumstances to, basically filling up their parking lot with people that aren't coming into the mall. So I just throw that out. But again, that doesn't mean that it's not something we can look into.
Good feedback. I might then suggest to the mover, well, I guess you say originating at locations with ample parking such as, and then a list of malls, but for example, maybe it's seeing if there are municipal owned city lots that are empty on the weekends. That might be a good location, but it does say originating at locations with ample parking. So
Such as is inclusive, but or including, I think. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to include municipal lots that are not already downtown, which people would have to drive to and walk 2 blocks to the venue. But the thing about malls is if you're going to have an excursion bus that has 50 people on it, you're hardly filling up the lot. And I think that these would tend to be, well, I'll leave it at that. Certainly, we can't force malls to agree. But if we're going to go over to a system of park and rides, later on, we're going to have to deal with this issue. So, and in terms of the reluctance of staff and faculty, I don't know how long ago that was, but there has been an appreciable change in conditions at Western that might be an impetus for them reconsidering this. And that is, number one, the university continues to raise the fees for parking. And number two, the driving conditions around campus have just become intolerable. Much more so, I don't know when the last time it was that you had this conversation, but my guess is there's been an appreciable change and people are really tired of the situation. Certainly there is transit that's available, but something like an institutional push could get more people on the bus. And this is not just students and faculty. This is also hospital employees. So in any event, I don't think there's any downside of investigating this, and adding municipal lots is great. But in terms of the subsidy argument, I just want to briefly address, I don't think we're currently subsidizing anybody. I think that these programs that we have are net positives for us. And I think if there's any subsidy involved in the Western program, it's the students who pay the fee who are not taking the transit. They're subsidizing the students who do take the transit. So I'm very sensitive to your argument about subsidy, but I don't think that that's a big issue here. And finally, with respect to how far does it go? Well, if a small employer wants to, they'll know this is out there. And if a smaller employer that is not on our initial list of large employers wants to talk to us about this, we'll be very open to doing that.
Great. Okay, and I'll go back to the, Commissioner Morgan.
Yes, I understand the concerns that the general manager expressed. I think one of the differences that could be considered in this is it might not need to be absolutely everybody. If there's a threshold at which you think you actually kind of balance between moving away from existing ridership and driving new. I will give an example. If St. Joseph's, I'm not sure if they're willing or not, but you might have a minimum if you want a discount. You got to buy 2,000 passes and then you get them at this, and then they can make it an employee benefit or something like that. Like I know that it would overlap existing transit users, but I think if there's some analysis to see what thresholds might make sense, there may be none, but maybe there are some, then maybe there is some sort of balance there. So again, I don't know if this is going to lead to anything, but it seems like something at least worth the investigation to see what's possible. So I do want to say I appreciate the concerns about just simply subsidizing existing riders. I don't think just passing out that rate to large institutions so that people who are already buying transit passes can get them cheaper is the right way to go, and would be not against that path forward. But I'm not sure that's not what we're considering here today. So I think our staff are pretty good at doing these analysis and can quickly determine if there's something possible or not with the large employers. Easy, Toby. That's what happens when you work from home, right?
Inevitable. Okay, thank you.
Through church and staff, like, how would you determine where, like, St. Joe's, how people are working at St. Joe's currently take the bus?
Through the chair. So in the past, when we met with employers like this, that's the first thing we explain to them is we need to undertake some kind of a survey, or they do, of their employees, so that we can get a benchmark of how many people are already taking the bus. And then we can look at, what's the opportunity for us to grow that. So that's kind of the first piece. And we would work with the employer to try to get that information. The other caution I'll throw out with the hospitals specifically, because they work basically around the clock, our services don't necessarily align with all shifts. So we've run up against that when we've talked about minimums and, buy these for your employees. It doesn't necessarily work for all shift times getting to and from work. So, and that's just got to do with the hours of our operation. So that's something else. But essentially we would work with the employer to do a survey to get an understanding of, like I said, what that benchmark is. And then we look for opportunities from there.
Yeah, so I understand Commissioner Trostell's point about those not using the service, subsidizing those that do. Yes. Would that be, through your chair to staff again, would that be something you'd look at and go, okay, you have, maybe 500 people taking the transit. If we can bump that up, we need whatever that math works so that we're not subsidizing that pass. Is that kind of how you would look at it?
Through the chair, that's certainly one of the concepts we put in for just kind of that universal piece that everybody buys the pass, whether you're going to use it or not. And whether it's the employer that pays for that pass or the employee, the idea is that then you have that cross subsidization within that program, because you have people who aren't using it that are paying part of that fee for the heavy users. And again, we've never gotten one of those kind of over that hurdle. In most cases, the employer's not necessarily interested in committing to a large number of passes like that. And they've indicated that they don't believe you know, if they have enough employees that, you know, the employees that want to be, you know, essentially forced into a program where they're paying for something that they may not use. For sure.
Yeah, so essentially they don't want to subsidize the people that aren't taking it, right? And what, through your chair, what would you say if we did find out that level? What would you say to the restaurant owner that has 10 employees and they say, well, my neighbor is a nurse and she gets a subsidized monthly pass, why don't we?
Through the chair, I think it would be, something, I think what we would look at would be something, as Commissioner Morgan talked about, where you'd almost have to have thresholds. So if you as an employer can buy X number of passes, here's the discount. So it's almost like a bulk discount. So unless you're meeting those bulk thresholds, you wouldn't qualify.
Again, would you be willing to do a study and saying, okay, are they buying more passes than currently or just essentially giving the business away at a discount?
Through the chair, again, I mean, what we've often been criticized, but we always do run this operation like a business and we always, you know, look out for what's in the best interest of LTC. So obviously we wouldn't be putting programs forward where, you know, we would go back to the city to say, hey, we've got a whole bunch more ridership, but we don't have the revenue that goes with it. So now we need more funding to be able to meet that demand. So it is a little bit of a cycle, but we certainly do our analysis before we would put something forward. The one thing I would say about the small businesses is, I mean, another concept could be, we've got a number of neighborhood associations. So maybe a neighborhood association could take on the, you know, have a bunch of small businesses kind of buy into a group that would then meet that threshold that then they could offer to their employers or employees. So, I mean, there are ideas out there. We've seen ideas in other jurisdictions. We hear from other transit systems. We've just, like I said, we've just never gotten one kind of across the finish line. We've had lots of conversations.
So based on what I've heard, and again, I'll go back to Councillor Trossow's insight about those not using it, subsidizing as the Transit Commission. You know, I'll support looking into it. But with the caveat that I can't support something where we just are essentially giving away the business, because I think there's other groups that would be more, when I look at subsidizing tickets, you know, like for example, seniors and kids. That's where I'd like to see that. So.
I might ask, I don't know if you've workshopped a little bit, but to read aloud.
So just replacing expanding to explore some of the past programs beyond Western, and then add at the end, which would have a net positive financial impact to LTC.
Okay, and then just in part B, would you be able to also add, if the movers okay, just before the list of malls, municipal lots, comma, and then the list of malls?
Sure.
If you're okay with that. Okay, so is everyone familiar with what the motions are on the floor? Okay, Commissioner Trustee.
One last thing, there's nothing that would stop a BIA from participating. There's nothing that would stop the Restaurants Association. There's nothing that would stop the Chamber of Commerce. There's nothing that would stop any group of small businesses that wanted to band together to take the economy of scale. So with that, I think nothing else to say.
Great. Okay, so we've got an amendment on the floor. It's, you know, got some wordsmithing on it, but if everyone is good with that, any final comments or questions? And Commissioner Morgan, I'll just ask you to turn on the camera when we go to vote in a second. Okay, seeing none, then all in favor? And any opposed? So that carries as an amendment. And then there's still the outstanding item, which was the app.
Oh, because, yeah.
That was to amend it. So, can I get a motion to approve the original thing that approve the app and receive the report, sorry, for number 3. And then now as amended with these items, can I get a mover for that? Moved by Commissioner Trostad.
Yes, a procedural question.
Sure.
Can you call them separate so that I can participate in the conversation about the recommendations that are in front of us and then, yes.
Yes, I'm gonna get all the floor together and then something. Okay. Great, great. That was Commissioner Trostad moving the original items plus the amendment, and then Commissioner Lehman. So now those are on the floor, but Commissioner Brown, if you'd like to speak to the app and the receive a report first, and then we'll call the votes all separately.
I'll wait to hear from others before I speak.
Are there any comments from or questions from the members in regards to the other items in the ridership assessment and the transit app? You know. Ask anything or? Yes, for sure.
Thank you. I guess I was still hoping for more of an understanding why this is the go-to technology at this point. I still am a bit confused why we can't look at more cost-effective ways other than this, what seems like an expensive pilot. The other issue I have is I don't really understand the long-term cost, so I get what the pilot cost is, and I'm trying to understand what would be the year-over-year cost as well. Is a lot of it just the upfront implementation costs, and then what do we anticipate to be the cost, or will it fluctuate a lot based on how we use it?
Through the chair, I think the rationale for transit app is just because we've got a significant amount of Londoners already using the app, but their use is limited based on the fact that we're not paying a license fee. So their use is limited to essentially the routes that they're closest to when they're utilizing the app. So we know we already have a good base of users and then would hope to boost from there. This is something that we continuously hear about from our riders. They want app-based information versus having to go to our website. So in terms of cost effective, it's either pay a license fee with an app provider or develop an app in-house, both of which are unfortunately costly. But again, because we've got this good base, we thought a pilot would be good to see what the uptake is. And then from there, we can assess what makes the most sense going forward. In terms of annual cost, they would be similar. So that's an annual, basically a license fee. They're already accessing our feed and our data, but again, it's what the user experience is limited. So this would just open it up and give us a couple of extra features with respect to the detour mapping, and then the ability for us to do push notifications to basically any app user for anything that
And through the chair, in addition, we would also get information back from Transit App. Currently, we're not getting the data that they're getting because we're not partnered with them. So they would provide information back so that we'd be able to use that in our planning purposes.
Thank you. I guess one of the questions I had was, I don't really understand why 4 push notifications per year versus multiple. Is it just a threshold, or we try not to annoy people? I don't know.
Through the chair, no, they have thresholds
Okay.
Within their package. So 4 was the minimum, and we just thought, again, because it's a pilot, let's try 4. If we find that that's effective, that may be something that we would modify going forward if we were, to decide that this path made sense. So that was just their minimum, the minimum option.
And then for a report back, when do we anticipate having a report back, and what kind of data we can get?
Through the chair. So again, once it's up and running, we would probably like to see it in use at least for 9 months prior to the 1 year being up. And again, as Ms. Burns indicated, we would have that data from Transit App, so we'd have a good idea of what the uptake is. But I would envision that we would provide updates through our quarterly update process, just with respect to the type of data that we're seeing and the uptake.
Last question, does it give us any ability to survey or ask questions that we normally would capture in our ridership survey?
Through the chair, that is a feature, but it's not, we didn't include that in the pilot because we are still doing voice of the customer. But again, depending on the uptake, then we've also we also want to reconcile that with our transit advisory panel, which will also be doing surveys. So we want to make sure that everything is working together, but that is a feature that we could buy into going forward.
Thank you. And how often do you get reports then from Transit App? Is it monthly, or do you only get it at, what are the intervals for their own reporting?
Through the chair, it would be monthly that we would receive the information from Transit App.
Thank you. Would we then get outside of the 9-month report, would we be able to get some interim reporting just on how's it going so far? And then I just want to get a sense of what's our promotion of the app, how will we be putting that out to the public?
So through the chair, as I said, I think we would include updates through the quarterly updates because that would be an ongoing thing. So we would quarterly give updates on the data that we're seeing. And then obviously we will have a comms plan that will be part of the rollout. We are bringing on the two summer students, actually start next week, and we've got them scheduled to be out in the community sharing information. One of the big pushes will be the advisory panel, trying to get people for that, but this would be another one that they will be sharing that information, trying to get the word out.
For sure. Thank you. On a separate note from that report, I believe it was that report, there was some information about about a pass being usable by members of the family. I'm just wondering, how often do we share that information publicly about the benefit of a pass being something that can be shared?
Through the chair, since we launched our smart cards, all of our passes have been transferable. So I mean, it's very clear on the website. I'm not sure if we've done a push about that lately, but that's been in place for many years. So I mean, we could certainly look at, doing another reminder that is out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments in regards to item number 3? Did all the commentary?
I'm interested in seeing what the information comes back for usage for the transit app. I do think we have a couple of different balls in play in that we are also looking at the contact-free payment process. And, with the bus rapid transit system having boarding at the back doors as well as the front doors. So there's a couple things up in the air, so I will be interested in this information, so I'll be supporting it. I do think long-term though, I'd like an app that has the feature that people could reload their card in the app as opposed to on the website, like have one spot that does everything instead of multiple spots that do different things. But again, I'm interested in seeing what the usage is like and what other services it could offer in the future. So I'll support this at this time, but similar to Commissioner Roman, I'm curious as to long-term what our solution will be for fare payment options. My comments.
Okay. So that's been moved in second. Their comments, so I'll call items 1 and 2, which are the transit app approval and receive the report, separate to item 3, which is the amended motion. So items 1 and 2, all in favor? And any opposed? So that carries. And then calling item 3 separate, so all in favor? And any opposed? And any abstentions? 1 abstention. Okay. So that is item 3 done, thank you. And then item 9 was pulled for Commissioner Trelta, but also as a verbal update, so we'll start with that. So,
Thanks. As communicated in an email earlier this week to commission members, the current service animal policy that we've got in place does not explicitly state that animals are not permitted on seats. It is, however, the expectation. Special accommodation with respect to any LTC policy may be granted upon review and discussion with the customer, which is consistent with the AODA as well as the Ontario Human Rights Code. We have been in contact with the individual that appeared in the CBC story and have clarified the requirement for the provision of a medical note indicating the need for the special accommodation in order for the dog to be allowed to occupy a seat. This issue has highlighted the need for a review of the service animal policy just to make the expectations more clear. And as such, we will be taking that policy to the accessible public transit service advisory committee at their next meeting, which is in September. And then obviously recommendations stemming from that committee will come to the commission meeting in October. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? None? Okay. Yes,
Surprisingly, no questions.
I'll take it.
I think that's wonderful. So I'll be looking forward to discussing that at the advisory committee. Thank you.
So then I'll get a motion to receive the verbal update, moved by Commissioner Trelsa, seconded by Commissioner Lehman. Any final comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor to receive? Any opposed? That carries. Awesome. Okay, moving to items for direction, we'll start with the 2025 audited pension plan statements, and I'll go to, like to highlight those.
Yeah, thank you. An additional audit is also required for the employee's pension plan, which KPMG reported last month, just completed. The plan is for a pre-1989 pension, after which, London Transit brought in OMERS and the employees transitioned to that. There are about 256 employees, currently prior, within that plan. Please note that there is an amendment to the statements that were distributed. After discussion or after distribution, KPMG identified that it'd be beneficial for the financial statements to include a note outlining details of the asset mix of the plan, noting that your statement of investment policy and procedures for the plan, just like any kind of investment strategy, would require thresholds and minimums within different classes. So they included that as a statement or as a note to the financial statements. It's note 7, the third last page. You'll see a table in note 7, capital disclosure, and that provides the target between short-term notes and treasuries, stocks, non-Canadian stocks, and bonds and debentures, and how we've performed from that perspective. Noting that Manulife does purchase a product that meets those requirements. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, Commissioner Lehman?
Through your chair to staff, are you confident that we can fulfill our pension commitments with that plan?
Yeah, to the chair, absolutely. There's a triannual actuarial evaluation that's done that indicates how much is left owing versus what you have in the plan, and we have around $6 million surplus with the plan being about $8 million. So it's winding down and it's quite healthy.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, then I would take a motion to move the staff recommendations and the amended statements.
I just want to get more clarity on the note and the reason for the note.
Through the chair, Manulife does provide to FSRA that detail through supplemental reporting, but KPMG just felt that it would be best to additionally disclose it in the financial statements. It hadn't been done in the past, but they were through their, I think, partner review at the end, they determined they recommended adding that note.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the reason for it. I hear that it was just a disclosure for them, but it seems pretty normal in terms of our asset categories. The only thing I was, I guess, more interested in after looking at this was the non-Canadian stock, but that's just, I think, a separate conversation at some point, just to get a better sense of where that asset allocation is and whether or not we still think it's the best mix, but.
Do you want me to a question or?
No, not at this point. I just wanted to understand that.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing no further questions or comments, so motion to move the staff recommendations and the amended statements moved by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Trossel. Any more questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you very much for those. And then moving on to city of London reviews. So these are the items which have gone through council and are coming now to us. We had a number of communications from Mr. Schultes in regards to it. And there are some requests for direction from staff and able in order to be able to provide some guidance as to how to bring this forward to a future commission meeting for discussion. So maybe perhaps I'll open up the floor to some questions for discussion on this. I have a couple thoughts, but happy to listen.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, how do you want to tackle this? I kind of want to go through area by area, if that's okay. I don't know if that would be helpful for everybody, but notes. Okay. So with respect to the letters and communication, there's obviously a lot of work and there's a lot of work in what seems like a short period of time. So I'm just trying to get a sense of resourcing and what kind of resources are needed, if we can just start there as an overall clarification. I see some recommendations of potentially some outside support. I just want to get a sense of what that might look like.
Sure. Through the chair, so, yes, some of this will involve obviously a little bit more in depth, and I will caution that we, by October, may not have every answer, but we'll have a good indication that may require follow-up for actual costing, because the way some of these things are worded, for example, go and ask New Flyer Industries. Our contract is coming up, so if you want a real cost, that technically should be an RFP and allow other providers to quote, but we can try to get some ballpark numbers. So that's what I mean when I say it might not be an exact, but it would be a ballpark. It's really the route review piece that we may need to go back to Dillon Consulting, who helped us with our 5-year plan. So there's now recommendations that are, I wouldn't say contrary, but essentially different. So we're going to have to go back and work with Dillon to understand, what the implications would be of making those tweaks. I don't expect that to be anything significant. On the rapid transit piece, the parts about rear door boarding and fortunately, we were on the cusp of issuing an RFP to assess alternative fare payment options, and this recommendation came out before that, so we amended the scope to include an assessment of rear door boarding and what the issues and implications are associated with that as part of that review. So that's already included in an RFP that we just awarded on Friday. So, and that was within, we just amended the scope, but that's now within. So I don't anticipate significant. I just wanted it in, the report to be clear that we may have to go out and utilize consultants that we hadn't necessarily disclosed in the budget.
So under the readiness category, one of the final bullets is review and implement remaining station enhancements to support safe, accessible, and efficient rapid transit operations. So I guess I'm trying to get a sense of this is basically keeping the current components that are there and looking at any additional safety or operational changes. But from a design perspective, one of the concerns that I've heard is that from a keeping out of the weather scenario, the design of the station itself is problematic for things like weather. I'm just wondering, how would we address that? Say, probably an ongoing criticism of what the look is of the operation.
Through the chair, we have heard that concern. All of the stations are now being outfitted with front glass in the center bays, so that there will be a section that is virtually fully enclosed. So all of the shelters that are being installed now are getting that as they're being installed. All of the other ones, which we're calling the work back stations because they were previously installed, will be getting that in the coming months. So there will be some additional protection already planned for that as we're working through the installations.
Thank you. And just to get a sense of what the report back looks like. So we anticipate getting some of this at the October 19th meeting. And then how does that then get sent to council, and how do we communicate kind of what our timelines are for the work versus the timelines that were given at council?
Through the chair, so the direction from council on all of these is that we get back no later than Q4. So essentially, this commission's last meeting, I believe, was October the 19th. So at that time, what I would propose is the kind of the responses that we have drafted in the report. The commission would give direction for us then to council so that they could be included on a council or SPPC, I guess, agenda prior to the end of Q4 so that it could be then dealt with by council. I will caution that a lot of these are going to be big ticket items in terms of cost. So I would imagine that council will receive these reports and then refer them to the multi-year budget process so that appropriate business cases could be prepared. But that's just my guess. But essentially, my thinking is that all of this would come to this commission in October, and then this commission would direct us to put together a report that would be forwarded to SPPC for consideration.
Thank you. With respect to the subsidized transit programs, the implementing a universal income-based program, how do we anticipate meeting that request for more information and the costing associated?
Through the chair, that's one that we can do in-house. I mean, the subsidized report that council did receive, between Mike and I, we worked with the consultant to provide them with all of the data. So that's data that we have, and it's fairly easy for us to do assessments. And I've already had follow-up conversations with civic administration as to, you know, the type of data that they might need for us to assess what options would be going forward. But again, that's the one that isn't Q4. That's the one that says specifically come back at multi-year. So we have a little bit more time with that one, but that one I don't anticipate we would need outside resources. It's really data that we would just be, you know, coming up with different scenarios.
Thank you. I guess through you, not a question of staff, but a comment to commissioners. I think what we'll need going forward is some strong recommendations around what we'd like the commission to take action and lead and then advise council on. I think that would be helpful in terms of aligning our strategies. I wanted to move on to the governance review. So I did have some questions. They kind of stem and dovetail from where what we're looking at in a timeline perspective with new council. What kind of an orientation will new council get on LTC?
Through the chair. So my understanding is civic administration in cooperation with clerks will be working on the kind of the fundamental, you know, meeting protocols, that type of thing. We will work on the piece that we generally provide, which is, you know, here's where we are in the business plan, here's our, you know, last year's work program, that type of thing. So more the operational piece, but we will be working hand in hand with civic administration to put together that package. My understanding is that training is being considered for all boards and commissions, not just this commission. So that piece will incorporate part of the onboarding for the next commission.
Thank you. Just a comment. I personally would like to see more of an engagement with new council on LTC. I could tell you my experience. I would say that was something that I missed out on an opportunity to really understand fully. In the report, it talks about onboarding and willingness to serve on a commission in an interim basis while we formulate the new governance structure. So I do think having council understanding, but also excited about the opportunities available to participate in the commission would be very helpful. So if it's possible to set up time with members of council, obviously respecting standing committee quorums, but to have them in early for a discussion, I think that would be good and beneficial to everyone involved. With the updates to the governance structure, we're recommending that soon, excuse me, within the timeline that we would appoint our standing committees and ABCs, that we do an interim appointment for five members of council, and then basically have one step down or figure out what that's going to look like for that transition to the new governance structure. So I'm supportive of that. I think that's probably the best way forward at this time. And then looking forward to the new commission taking on the skill set and the matrix guide for what appointees will round out the commission going forward. My comments.
Thank you. Other comments or questions on the city of London review items? None. I'll just share some comments from the chair. One thing in regards to item 3, which was provide direction with respect to how the commission feedback should be gathered and reported back to council. I thought perhaps taking some of the items that are included in this report, which are almost in the form of a question anyway, and circulating that to the commissioners in a survey, a digital survey form, so that we can spend a bit of time the next month thinking about how we want to see, you know, an orientation for a new commission, for, you know, frequency of providing information to council from the commission. I think at this point, I'd rather spend some time putting together my thoughts and then submitting it in a survey and then having staff take those and see if there's any themes or summarizing it and bringing it back to the August commission agenda, so that we can discuss it in August, so that by October, we at least have provided a bit more, for the governance review portion. I don't know if anyone is, against that, but that was my suggestion to try and get our feedback generated. See a couple of nods. Great, okay. I'm not gonna add a motion to do that, but that's just something that I figured would give us a bit more time and thoughtfulness to look at those items, so, but I'm gonna form a motion on the floor. Any other final comments or questions about the City of London review process? Nope, okay. Well, I just want to say thank you to staff. I do know that this kind of showed up in the middle of the year and there's going to be a significant amount of work for folks to do and bring back, but I look forward to the discussion. And again, I think it will hopefully improve some of the processes in the next term of council. And I look forward to the next commission getting the big budget pieces. So we'll see how they want to proceed with those. So then I would take a motion to move the staff recommendations as outlined in the report as there are 4. Moved by Commissioner Roman, second by Commissioner Lehman. Final call, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so those carry. And now moving to the final item on the agenda, the terms of reference for APSAC. So again, there's a good report in there as well. Attachments for the updated terms of reference. So I will look for questions, comments, questions, Commissioner Coughlin.
Yes, thank you very much. As I indicated before, I would like this referred to the committee before final adoption. I think the language would be, this would be an appropriate thing to state it. Prior to these actions being finalized, the commission refers this report to APSAC for their review, recommendation, and report back to the full commission. End of motion. That will set us back one sequence, and I don't think that really is going to create any prejudice, and that's what I would like to do. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for that motion? I don't see one. So Commissioner Frost, would you like to speak to the item?
Well, I'd like to speak to the item that's on the floor, which is, I think we should, I'm not gonna support this now, because I feel as if, just as a matter of courtesy, this should be referred to the, committee. It's not like we're running up against the statutory deadline or have to spend money or other moving parts yet in our way. So I don't have an issue with any of these in particular, but I think it's board governance practice not to give this commission made up of volunteers who work very hard the opportunity to look at these before we go ahead and adopt them. So I'll be voting no.
Thank you. So we don't have a motion on the floor, so any of the other commissioners would like to move what was included in the report. Moved by Commissioner Lehman, seconded by Commissioner Robin. So it's moved and seconded. Any further questions, comments on in terms of reference? Yes.
I'm just trying to get an understanding, maybe through you to staff, what kind of engagement was done with APSAC in this process?
Through the chair, there was no engagement with APSAC with respect to this process because it's essentially, the direction from the commission was for staff to review the terms of reference to align them with the expectations. So there was no review, just like when the initial terms of reference were created. Or anytime terms of references have been amended by past commissions, it's never been reviewed by the committee. It's been enacted and then shared with the committee as, you know, as an update. Here's what's changed. But as I said, consistent with past practice, there's never been a consultation with the committee about potential changes to their terms of reference.
Commissioner?
Okay, I just want to think about it for a moment. Thank you both questions.
Any other questions or comments? I'll share a few comments from the chair. Folks are okay with that. I appreciate the work. I think that it explored all the various options that we directed staff to, and I particularly am satisfied with the recording and posting of recordings on the website. I think that will provide the entire, instead of trying to summarize it, use AI and have all these different features that perhaps wouldn't still capture what people are discussing. The recording and posting of the video afterwards, I've heard from members of the public, they want to be able to see what's happening and what was discussed. And if somebody misses a meeting, they can go back and look at that video. So I think that is a really good solution for the request from the public. And then additionally, I think a lot of the tightening up of the reference, the list of duties, qualifications, attendance of meetings. I think that we've had some discussion about those, and tightening that up will resolve a bunch of those. And additionally, I've already heard feedback that having some protocols and procedures in place, and then through how the commission operates with procedures, having the same at the committee will be of use. So I look forward to this being implemented and hearing any feedback. I think, again, similar to council, we have a variety of advisory committees that report to us, and we set up their terms of reference, and we set up, who we would like to serve on those committees. So I do think it's incumbent commission to set out those parameters. I'm open to feedback as it moves along if there are things that people don't like, but I think that this is a move in the right direction. So I'll be supporting this. Any final comments or questions?
Yes, to the chair. I'd like to better understand the rationale for not referring this back to the commission first. What is the purpose of there weren't consultations, so what's the purpose of passing this without more consultation with them? I don't understand what the purpose of that is.
Well, Commissioner, staff won't be able to answer that, and I don't see anyone raising their hands to answer it, so I think it's more at this point speculative hypothetical question. But
I'll take that to mean there are none.
you can take it however you like, but no one is raising their hand to answer, so, and that is not a question of staff. Okay, any final?
I guess my question for staff was, is there an operational or deadline reason why this would be done without referring it back to them? That's directed to staff.
Through the chair, no.
Thank you.
Seeing no final comments or questions, we have the motion moved and seconded for the items that are included in the report. So all in favor? And any opposed? Anyone? Okay, so that carries. So then moving on. I have had a request in regards to new business, although typically we add that at the beginning of the agenda. I don't know, suspension of our policies in order to be able to add new business to the item. If folks are okay with that.
What is it?
You know what, Commissioner Morgan, I'll go to you to highlight what you'd like to introduce.
Yeah, so I did not have the link to start the meeting. I would have provided some additional context with the commission on the federal advocacy piece and how the work of CUDA is aligning with others. I don't have to do it. I don't want to break the rules. I would have done that if the commission's interested in it. I could provide that to you. If not, certainly not looking to create some sort of weird precedent. I just wasn't able to comment on that because I wasn't able to connect right away.
Commissioner Dawson?
Well, I thought that our advocacy work was already on the agenda and we were discussing it, so I think it would be well in order to add this. I don't think it even has to be a separate item, but I want to hear what the mayor has to say about it because it's so important.
All right, then, Commissioner Morgan, it sounds like
I'm
generally,
sorry, the commissioner.
you've got some support, so perhaps you could provide a brief update.
Yeah, and I'll be brief. I would have said this at the federal advocacy. I just want commissioners to know that the advocacy, particularly on the restoration of the $5 billion from the Canada Permanent Transit Fund, as well as returning it to a dedicated fund aligns with the positions of FCM and particularly the Big City Mayors Caucus, which the large cities in Canada are obviously the ones with larger transit systems. We've met multiple times with federal officials and government officials on this and continue to both advocate directly, but also echo the advocacy that CUDA is doing through their direct work on this. And that's tends to be how we align the advocacy. We both advocate directly as well as partner with others. I want to let colleagues know that the reception has been kind of mixed on that, in that they recognize that there'll be a further need for transit. And one of the answers was there will always be another budget, and we expect to have to increase transit funding in the future. So don't worry about it. Obviously, that's not a position that we've generally accepted because you never know what will happen in the future. It's better to have this locked in and advocated for in budget envelopes now. Than in the future. But what I will say is there's multiple voices on this. There's no member of the government saying that they don't expect that they will invest more in transit in the future. They just haven't been willing to restore this particular envelope of funding over the 10-year period. Our interim ask from federal FCM and the Big City Mayors has been, if that's the case, flow the money quickly and efficiently and front end load it as much as possible. And we'll deal with any funding shortfall kind of on the back end if that's your preference, because what we don't want is to delay any access to transit funding that we know is needed. And as the report says that was before the commission, the longer you wait, the more expensive things get. So the more you can front end load that money, the better it is for transit commissions, as well as stretching those dollars as far as they can possibly go. So just to add that context that multiple organizations are working together on this. It's not just CUDA, but working alongside other entities at the municipal level federally to advocate for that particular piece, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, so then moving on to date of next meeting will be Monday, August 31st at 9:30 a.m. And as was discussed, we'll get a survey to discuss some of those governance items before, so come prepared in August to have maybe a more fulsome discussion of those reviews and those items. And other than that, I will take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Commissioner Lehman, second by Commissioner Roman, in favor? Thank you very much, everyone.